Well, here we are 8 weeks into homeschooling, and I want to share with you guys what is working, what is not, and what we are doing to pivot in the midst of all the chaos. So let's get started. First, let's start with what has not been working. And frankly, it's kind of be summed up all in one thing. I can't get to it all. I cannot do it all. It's just not possible. I am really struggling with trying to figure out how to make it all work with everything that we have going on right now. A few of the factors that we're dealing with here is that I have had a child since we started school who fractured her arm. I have had a child who has had a medical procedure done. We have had countless amounts of therapy appointments, doctor's appointments, regular routine dental eye appointments, as well as specialist appointments. We have been dealing with lots of testing blood work and trying to figure out different diagnoses for one of my children, and so much more. So much more. And with all of that being said, no 2 days have looked the same. Even though we've been doing school for 8 weeks, we have yet to have a normal week, let alone 2 days in a row that have been without kind of some weird interruption or weird appointment. Another major factor that I'm dealing with here is that I have 6 kids. I have 3 that are completely dependent on me for their schoolwork. And then I have one older one who can do about half of his work on his own, but the other half requires me. And that just takes a lot. I'm trying to prioritize everybody's needs, but there are so many things I'm just falling short in that area. So what are we gonna do? Am I just throwing in the towel? Am I saying I can't do this? No, we're not doing that. But I am going through and just trying to reformat and figure out a few things. So the first thing I did is, what are we doing that is not absolutely necessary? Are the things that we can cut out or that we can adapt our expectation on how often we do them? And one of the big things for that is with read alouds. So we are a family that prioritizes reading aloud with our kids and getting to get into fun chapter books and go on adventures together with these books. However, I've realized that this year, that's probably not gonna happen every single day. Actually, I can tell you it's not gonna happen every single day. I've decided to throw out my original read aloud plan and to adapt it in the sense that we are going to switch everything over to audiobooks. If I get a chance to read a physical book with them, awesome, but we're gonna switch over completely to audiobooks, and we're only going to do it when we're all in the car together. There's at least 2 appointments or classes, co-ops that we go to each week where we're all in the car at one time. And so if that's the only 2 times we do it in that week, awesome. And if we don't get it to it 2 times a week, that's okay too. We're just going to take it as we can. I'm not gonna worry about keeping up with my original schedule, and we're just gonna enjoy the books as we go. And if we end up doing it only on longer car trips this year, that's all right. Another thing that I've had to kind of be flexible with is our morning menus and our Bible doctrine for older kids. Both of these things are important to me. They incorporate things that are important to me. And in the past, I would typically make time to do them every single day. However, right now with our schedule, that's only happening about 2 to 3 times a week. And I'm just learning to accept that. That being said, Bible is incredibly important and a non-negotiable in our house. However, the kids have individual devotions times that they're doing every single morning consistently. And then we have family worship time that we are doing as a family as well. So because of those 2 other times, I am letting go and becoming okay with the fact that we might not get to the doctrine studies every single day. The second thing I'm doing is I am kind of reformatting our school week. So I am looking at how often do things need to get done each and every week? Or at what point do we need to be at by the end of the week? For my older kids, they're already doing this on their own. I have assigned them 4 days of spelling, 4 days of this, 5 days of that, and they kind of divide and figure out how that works. Because they work independently, that's really not a problem. But for my younger ones, I'm trying to figure out, what are my bare minimums? What do I want to make sure they have? Fridays are our co-op and therapy days, so I'm not really worried about them having that 5th day of homeschooling. But I can't seem to get a consistent 4 days the other 4 days. So we're gonna just open up Saturdays. And on Saturdays, I'll have a small work session with a few of the younger ones to kind of finish up their school if we haven't gotten the 4 days in yet. I'm also going to try and combine a little bit more. So here is another factor we have going on in our home. I have 3 younger ones, like I said, that are dependent on me for their schooling. I have a 1st grader, I have a kindergartner. So a lot of their things can kind of overlap and be done together. I also have a 5th grader in that match. And while she is in 5th grade, age-wise, she's not academically at a 5th grade level. There are a lot of special needs at play, a lot of learning things that we're dealing with, and so she actually works a lot closer to the younger girl's age. Now, I could hypothetically combine them all into one and just teach a little bit above the kindergartner's level, a little bit below the 5th grader's level, and right in that middle at that sweet spot, that 1st grader's level. However, that would be incredibly hurtful to my older daughter. That would make her feel less than, and I don't ever want to do that. So we actually keep them in separate curriculums, which is part of the problem of why I'm having trouble getting into doing each of the curriculums with each of the kids, because we are in so many different places at one time. That being said, I am going to start combining a few things that don't seem to matter as much level-wise. So we're going to meet together in the morning, the 3 of us, and we are going to work on some basic things like handwriting or our journals for the day. We're gonna work at least on reviewing the math skills that my older daughter is working on, because it's great review and introducing new concepts to what my younger ones are learning as well. Just kind of keeping us all together will help a little bit in that area. For the things that we can't keep together, and for my oldest son who needs me for a little bit more of the work, I'm also going to be rotating through who I am working with first. It seems like with 4 kids that I need to cycle through and work through, inevitably, at least a couple days a week, there's one kid that I just don't get to work with. Now, that doesn't mean they don't do any school. They have plenty of other school they're doing in other places, either things they're doing independently, learning we're doing all together as a family, all sorts of things. So they are still getting school in, but they may not be getting to all the check boxes for everything. So with that, I'm going to rotate through who I start with. So if I start with one child on Monday, I'll start with a different child on Tuesday, and then the next one on Wednesday, and kind of go through that to make sure that everybody gets mom at her freshest point and gets full lessons in. And then if somebody kind of tapers off at the end of the day, that's only happening once every 4 days. Please know, I don't come to this and say this lightly. I know I'm, smiling and chippier and happy about it right now, but ultimately there's been a lot of tears, there's been a lot of stress, there's been a lot of self-doubt in all of this process, and me trying to figure out how this all works. We also have things like therapies that have therapy exercises that have to be introduced. We have my daughter in tutoring right now. She has occupational therapy that has exercises that need to be done. She's in a talk therapy counseling program. I have another daughter who is in speech therapy as well, and all of those have some level of homework. Plus this year, co-op classes have more homework as well. So there's a lot that we're just trying to insert and feed into here. And as many things as I can, I'm trying to at least hit 2 to 3 times a week for supplemental things, and at least 4 times a week for those more kind of pillars. But what has been working well? Well, I'm going to briefly go over this, but ultimately co-ops have been going really, really well. It has provided the accountability that I need to get to some of those things like history and science that I would very easily push off in this season, but are really necessary, especially considering my kids' older ages. We are also doing several online classes for my older kids. They're doing Redefining School, which has been amazing for my middle schoolers, going through this literature course, and that has been a great experience. My older son is also doing an ASL course, and they're taking a few classes outside of our home as well. Having, again, that accountability, that extra teaching experience, all of that has been phenomenal for them. One other big win that we have had this year has been using our not consume planners. So I have tried to use different kids planners in the past, and we've used them for a season, but haven't been able to consistently use them. And right now we're doing something a little bit different that has been so incredibly helpful. And that is that every Friday and Saturday, my kids only get video games on Friday and Saturday. Every Friday before they can start that video game time, they have to bring me their schoolwork and their not consume planner and have me check through it all. The not consume planner has places where they can check off as they go throughout the week, and then a place where I can check that I have gone back afterwards. I note in there how far they got for the week, so I don't lesson plan out. I just say you need to get 4 days of this or 5 days of that, and I write down, okay, you got lessons 14 through whatever done this particular week. It has been so incredibly helpful, and especially the section where the kids are supposed to kind of rate how they felt like they did this particular week, and then I'm supposed to also rate that, has been really helpful to just have conversations to help us see how can we get better. This is not at all like, oh, you did horrible this week, but it's like, hey, where can we seek room for improvement and to grow? Because this has to be checked off and done before video games, it has motivated my kids to keep me accountable to constantly checking their work and that they don't need any extra help or input or teaching. Because as your kids get older, one of the things that's really easy to do is to just kind of be hands off. They're able to do a lot more on their own, but they do still need follow-up. They still need checking in. They still need extra help from time to time. And so this provides me that opportunity to have that one-on-one time with each kid on Friday to go through their work and to see what all they've done. It's honestly been an absolutely insane 2 months, and I can't even imagine what the next few months have in store for them. I have no signs of it slowing down anytime soon, but I am trying to just say that God has created the season for a reason, and I am going to lean into Him. I'm going to use my brain and to use my time management skills to do the best I can in helping them get everything done that they need to get done, and I'm going to leave the rest in God's hands. And that is much easier said than done. If you want to see some of the curriculum changes we've been making, or you want to see some of the things that have been happening with my daughter and more details about that, be sure to check out these 2 videos here, and we'll talk to you guys later. Bye.